Hey y'all, welcome to my week 48 post VSG update. I hope you're all doing really well. Thank you so much for watching. I had another loss this week, which I'm really happy about, but it has been like the longest week ever. I'll jump right into it. I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy on October 20th, 2016 in Morristown, New Jersey at Morristown Medical Center. My high weight starting weight day of surgery was 265. I'm 5'8". I am now 31 years old. Last week I was 171.2, and this week I am 170.3. So that is a 0.9 pound loss for the week and 94.7 pounds down since surgery. I'm so happy with this. Almost a pound down. Again, it has been like 20 weeks since I had a loss. 4 weeks in a row. So I'm obviously really buckled down, really on top of my food choices, and I feel like I'm doing really good. This week was tough to stay on track, and temptations were strong, but I give myself a check mark. I give myself a pass this week. I think I did pretty well. So food-wise, I've kind of gone back to my normal routine, like what I was eating in the What I Eat in a Day video. For a couple weeks there, I think I mentioned I was being a little more experimental with my food, but it turns out that just makes me want to go outside the box too much. I've kind of gone back to not like basics, but back to what I know works for me. Plus, what was happening is that when I was a little more experimental with my foods, I would eat the right amount within my macros, calorie allotments, protein, blah, blah, and still be hungry. So, when I stick to what I know works for me, it's a good proportion for macros, and I know it makes me feel full and satisfied. So, I just didn't want to play around with that too much anymore, for now. Having said that, I will mention that I threw up for the first time since surgery this week, and that was a very unpleasant experience. How some people say before they have surgery that they have a few reservations. Maybe they think like, oh, they don't want to lose their hair, or they don't want to have loose skin. For me, it was never those. For me, I had two things. One, I didn't want to have visible scars on my stomach. Oh well, I do, too bad. And two, I didn't want to throw up. I really hate throwing up. That might sound silly, but I feel like for some people it's kind of not a big deal. For me it is. I don't know. Ever since I was a kid, when I throw up, it's just like the most horrible experience, like body shaking, just terrible. I don't know how... I used to have friends in college, we'd like go out drinking or something, and they'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go throw up and I'll come right back. Oh, I feel so much better. Like, no, that was never me. Like, if I was throwing up, I was on the verge of death. It was a terrible thing. My whole life, I've always avoided throwing up at all costs. Anyway, on Saturday or maybe Sunday, my husband and I went to a Renaissance fair, and it was a lot of fun. Except we were there for a lot longer than I was expecting, and so I didn't really plan properly food-wise. I'd gone to the gym that morning. I think I had had a Powerade Zero, so like 32 ounces, and then I had a bottle of water, so another 24, and I had a protein bar. And I had had coffee. And then we went to the festival, and we were there like kind of all day, and I didn't realize it, and I didn't realize that I was really hungry. They had food trucks and stuff, we just didn't eat there, and by the time I got home, I was famished, like so freaking hungry. And so I just ate too fast. I ate normal things. I ate shirataki noodles, which I eat really often, and I can't even remember what else it was. Maybe some zucchini. Oh, I had some salmon and some broccoli. And all of it like fit within my macros, but I didn't stop to think that it didn't fit like in my stomach. It was just too much food too fast. I ate all that, and I then ate a yogurt, and the yogurt really was what put me over the edge. Like, I couldn't even finish it. I like had to go to the bathroom and throw up. It was horrible. It was like the most terrible thing ever. Just like, I thought I had to poop, and I pooped a little, but that didn't really help, and I tried to lay down, and I felt like I was going to choke, and I started to feel like acidy, really, really acidy, and then I threw up, and like I said, for me, throwing up is just like terrible. It like comes out of my nose, like I feel it's horrible. I was like shaking, yeah, I even felt really bad the next day too. I mean, stomach wise, I felt fine afterwards, but just like physically, I feel like weak and drained afterwards. And the next day, I just did liquids. Um, and I really, since then, have been eating very mildly. And that was Sunday, and now we're at Thursday. So I guess it can happen. I think, my mom pointed out that at this point, I've gotten very confident with the foods that I eat. And like I said, I always am careful with my macros and my calories and stuff like that, but I hadn't stopped to consider how fast I was eating and that volume-wise it was just too much. So, lesson learned. Hopefully that won't happen again, ever. What else happened? Oh, I wanted to mention about my heart rate. A couple weeks ago I said, oh, when I'm working out, my heart rate's only getting up to 90, and I thought that was really weird. It turns out I was wrong. So, in class, the teacher will stop the class at the height of when we're working out really, really hard. She'll say go get some water, keep your feet moving, find your pulse, count your pulse. And this is a common thing that people do in workout classes, and all of my life that has always been a 10-second count. So you count whatever your heart rate is and then multiply by 6, and that's what your heart rate is. So I was always getting 15 or 16, which puts my heart rate at 90 or so. And that's why I was like, guys, my heart rate's only 90 at the height of a workout. That's weird. Huh? Well, this week when I went to the gym, they said, okay, find your pulse. It's a 6-second count. And I was like, 6-second count? I mean, I realized why they would do that, so that you have to multiply by 10, not by 6. I guess that's easier, but I had just never been to a gym where they did a 6-second count. Obviously, that's more inaccurate because it's a shorter amount of time. Anyway, makes more sense. If I'm getting 15 or 16, my heart rate is 150 or 160 at the height of a workout, which makes so much more sense. So I had just... They weren't saying it. They were saying, find your heart rate. Okay, start, stop. Okay, that's it. They weren't saying 6-second count or 10-second count, and I just assumed it was 10 seconds, but really it was 6. So I feel better about that. Crisis averted. I have also decided to order the Fitbit Charge HR as opposed to the Alta HR. I fell down a rabbit hole last week of reading studies and reviews about accuracy and the Garmin and the Polar and the Vivo and the Apple Watch and just every heart rate monitor under the sun that's not a chest strap about pros and cons and whatever. And I'm going to stick with Fitbit brand because I really like the app and how I don't know, sleek the design is or whatever. And I was really torn between the Alta and the Charge, and apparently they're basically the same thing, except the Charge also has GPS. So if I were to use it to run outside, it would tell me how far I've run, which normally when I run, I do it on a treadmill, but eventually I want to start running outside. So if I'm going to have this thing for a long time, I think that added feature is worth giving up, the fact that it's a little bit wider on the wrist. It's twice the size of this. So that was my concern, that it's going to be too big and bulky, but one of my coworkers has it. I tried it on. This has been my coworkers are tired of hearing about me talk about which one I should get, but I finally decided to get the Charge. So I guess I'll have it in next week. So I'm excited about that. And also I was just going to say about running outside, eventually I've been saying that I want to start training for a triathlon after my 1 year, which is very soon. It's in 4 weeks. So yeah, you're gonna start hearing me talk about triathlon training for real starting soon. Not yet. I'm postponing. But anyway, I'm excited to get my new Fitbit. And okay, so last thing I wanted to talk about was, how I was I've been having a lot of anxiety about the way I look, and just because I feel like I look very different, and I've been trying to get to the bottom of why that bothers me. So just kind of exploring these rabbit holes in my mind of okay, what's the worst that could happen, or what am I afraid people are going to say, or what do I think might happen, and so I've kind of pinpointed it, narrowed it down a little bit. First, I realized I'm anxious to see my friends that I haven't seen in a long time. This wedding that I'm standing in November is for an old high school friend, and I haven't seen her in a year, honestly. I'm going to see her at her bachelorette party in a couple weeks, but other than that, I haven't seen her in a year. Also, my best friend is flying in from Shanghai, and I always only ever see him at Christmas, so it will, at that point, be almost a year since I've seen him. And I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people there from high school that I haven't seen in a long time. So, okay, why does that make me anxious? These people are my friends, like my good friends. Who cares? Then I was like, what if they don't recognize me? Of course they're going to recognize me. And then I got to thinking even more, like, it's hard. This is hard mental work to really get to the bottom of why we feel the way we do about things. And it requires just thinking about it a lot, which is often uncomfortable and emotional. But I think it's important to get to the bottom of why we have these anxieties and fears, because then you can address them head on and confront them, and in my case, sometimes realize that they're stupid and just get over it, or think about how to address it before it becomes worse. So anyway, why does it give me anxiety to see friends that I haven't seen in a long time? And I realized this all keeps coming back to the fact that I'm now realizing how big I was before. I think I was like totally in denial about it. Like I've said many times, I thought I was really cute. I thought I was hot stuff. I used to dress like it, that's for sure. I behaved like it. I was flirtatious. In high school especially, I went to this like really kind of geeky, nerdy high school, and my now husband, all of his like guy friends, gamer friends, they were like all in love with me, like, I don't know, I thought I was hot shit. And now I'm like retroactively embarrassed about how fat I was. I wasn't embarrassed at the time. I thought I looked great. And now looking back on pictures and videos of what I looked like then, I'm embarrassed that I existed in that way. I'm embarrassed that I didn't know it. I'm embarrassed that, I don't know, I guess I just feel really stupid for having been so oblivious to my own weakness, to my own foolishness, to my own denial. I think I'm also embarrassed that my friends were never big. And it's funny, being from New Orleans, Louisiana is like one of the most obese states in the country. We have the best food, we have joie de vivre. People love to celebrate and party and enjoy life. Seeing overweight people is very, very common, and maybe that's part of why I was in denial. I never felt abnormal. But these friends in particular are all very thin. Most of my closest friends have been dancers, which I think is really funny. I love observing dance as an art form, ballet, and I think maybe in another life I was a ballerina, but not in this life, that's for sure. I don't dance. But my friends are like tall and long and lean and dancers and thin, so thin, and like fit, healthy people, and I thought I was one of them. And now I'm so embarrassed to have thought that. I mean, I was fit. I worked as an aerobics instructor for many years. I've always loved to exercise, but damn, I was big. Like, I realize this is the root of it. I am retroactively embarrassed for having been so oblivious, not just to how I looked, but to everything that goes along with that, to what that really means about me as a person and my character. So, I kind of just came to that realization in the last day or so, and I'm still kind of processing that, but I think now that I've gotten there, I think that's really the root of it. I can address it. And my friend who lives in Shanghai, my dearest friend, I've talked to him about it, and of course he's reassured me that my size doesn't matter and that it's foolish for me to be nervous to see everybody again, and that they all love me no matter what, blah, 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 But what I mean to say is that I am in no way anxious that they will think less of me. I'm just embarrassed for myself as a person for having been that big for so long. Anyway, like I said, now that I know what was causing me to feel that way, I think I can address it and move on and start to feel like happy that I'm no longer in that place, and that these are long and wonderful friendships that saw me these friends have known me since I was 15 years old, and that's half my life, and they will continue to know me, and they will continue to be there for me for many decades to come. So they're going to see many phases of my life, and I'm glad that this is a new and different phase to share with them. Anyway, yeah, so that's where I am. How are you? How are you doing? It's gotten a little warmer here, which is good. Winter blues haven't hit me yet, so I'm bracing myself by filling up all my weekends with lots of plans, and I'm going to see so many friends in the coming weeks that I'm really excited about. So I hope you're all doing really, 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 really well, and I will talk with you again soon. Okay, bye.